Hello everybody! Welcome back to my little corner of the internet where I will talk about the stories of my life, my work both as a comic book author and a translator, my cats Hey Hey and Serengeti, and the occasional movie, book or TV series review and recommendation, as well as some rants if the feeling hits. And today is recommendation time. Let me talk you to a world where superpowered people are quite common. Supers, also known as capes, are in many paths of life, from complicated jobs that require special talents to be done, like, say, keep an active volcano under wraps, to the medical field where you may also need to know how to deal with some weird extraterrestrial STDs, and of course, good old-fashioned superheroics. However, not all heroes are nice people. Yeah, they may save poor civilians from certain doom, but their personalities when not in front of the camera run more the asshole gamut than the person who just wants to do the right thing, and sometimes they don't really care about the collateral damage their fights might bring. And now, the most famous superhero team in the city has a new member, a blonde, bright-eyed, superpowered girl who really wants to make a difference and help her fellow men. No, I am not talking about the boys, which you may have guessed because A, the thumbnail, and B, the fact that in the boys, superheroes are not that common. Yes, I know, we will talk about him later. But about a superhero sexy comedy, sometimes, Empowered, by the incredibly funny Adam Warren. First, a teeny history class. Who is Adam Warren? Well, Adam Warren is a major league pitcher who is currently playing with the San Diego Padres and, groundnuts. Different Adam Warren. The comic book artist known as Adam Warren became originally known for his American adaptation of the Japanese OAV Dirty Pair for Dark Horse, and for being one of the very first American artists who wholly embraced the manga style as his main influence. Since the day of Dirty Pair, where he made the pair far more destructive than they had been in their animated version, he has also worked for Image, writing and illustrating Gen 13 miniseries, worked for DC for the Amazing Elseworlds Titan Rock Paper Scissors, and wrote for Marvel as the main writer and character designer for Live Wires, among others. He also does commissions from time to time, and that's where our story really begins. See, because he started with Dirty Pair, which was A, an anime, and B, had two very scantily clad girls as the main character, and he made them dress even less than the original animated version, a lot of the commission work he got was, well, scantily clad girls in very perilous positions. In his own words, after a while, he started getting bored of the same thing and started wondering about the feelings of the unnamed blonde girl he kept drawing tied up in every position imaginable, and little by little, said blonde girl became a person to him, a woman who only wanted to be a superhero and do her best, despite her bad luck and a flimsy supersuit getting in the way. Enter Elisa Megan Powers, aka Empowered, aka Emped to friends and loved ones. In a world where superpowers are so common that you can literally get them from STDs, alien and otherwise, and there are college majors dedicated to the ethics of capes, the superpower people who use their powers to either help the public or commit crimes, Emp is a D-list hero that, thanks to some unspecified gender quota, gets the chance to become an associate of the most elite group of superheroes of the country, the Super Homies. Unfortunately for her, the old adage of never meet your heroes happens to be incredibly true, as most of the Super Homies, with the exception of Captain Rivet, the leader, treat her horribly, making fun of everything she does, from wearing underwear under her supersuit so that she has visible panty lines, to getting caught and tied up every single time. Okay, to be fair, that one is quite common from her and a problem for a superhero. In particular, the heroes that give Emp the worst time are Dwarf, Captain Havoc, and the mystic Sister Spooky, who seems to hate Emp for the simple sin of being blonde. To make matters worse, while Emp has a good set of superpowers due to her supersuit, which include, to her knowledge, super strength, the ability to stick up to walls, the ability to make the suit invisible, the suit, not herself, that is important, and sometimes shot blasts of energy, the problem is that the powers depend on the suit being, well, intact. And while it can regenerate after getting damaged, the suit takes its sweet time regenerating, and after a certain level of damage, it just leaves Emp powerless and half naked. Not only that, despite being a super suit that gives their user invulnerability, well, Emp, because she's the only one who can access the powers, invulnerability, it is more fragile than wet tissue paper because it rips because someone sneezes a feet away from her. And yet, Emp doesn't quit. In fact, her insistence of always doing the right thing, on always helping those who need help, has won her some amazing allies, like her boyfriend, Tugboy, whom she met when he was working for a supervillain who captured her, and her best friend Ninjette, a ninja princess from New Jersey, yes, seriously, who was originally hired to kill her. Oh, and the terrifying demon wolf, who lives in a belt in her closet, who of course she met when he was trying to take over the world. She makes a lot of friends among the supervillains. One very interesting thing of Empowered is that, yes, the world where she lives follows the same rule as many what if Superman was an ass superhero deconstructions. Superheroes are treated like celebrities. Given how many of them are there, they are also divided the same way we divide celebrities in our world, from A-listers like their super homies, to D-listers like, well, Emp herself at the beginning of the story. Unlike the more traditional superhero universe, many of the capes in Emp's world started working as heroes for the fame and accolades, rather than for a real desire to help people. Now, this is not to mean that they do not help, nor that they aren't willing and ready to sacrifice their lives to protect people. In fact, we get to know many capes who, despite being mean girls to Emp, would rather die in battle at her side. It's just that, well, just like celebrities, some do not take to fame well and can get a bit of an ego. And this is the first thing that Empowered really hits on, how fame can skew some people's priorities. In her world, there are superhero fantasy leagues, superhero books, superhero YouTubers, superhero merchandise deals, and so on and on and on and on. So, of course, constant adoration can make you think that you are unbeatable or that nothing that you do is wrong. A perfect example of this would be the super homies Major Havoc. Major Havoc is a bit of a Superman XP mixed with the jerk jock archetype from high school. He is incredibly self-confident that he is a ladies' man, that he is the most popular of the heroes, and of course that he is always right. But he isn't. Because, well, the comic is named Empowered, not Major Havoc. In truth, he is a sexist pig that becomes directly antagonist against Emp after his best friend, Dwarf, disappears after a battle and Emp claims, correctly, that he was actually the supervillain who caused said battle to happen. He is the kind of character that we want to see beaten, and whenever we get the chance to see him confronted with the fact that the image that his fandom has of him is completely opposite of how he really is comedy gold. In particular, Major Havoc has a huge yaoi fan base who draws him as the okiest tuke that has ever oked, and always portray him as a sensible bottom, much to his annoyance, not because of the gay sex, since he considers it a win that women use him in their sexual fantasies, but because he obviously would be the top. Then he tried to write fanfic of himself and got a ton of criticism about how he got himself out of character. Poor Major Havoc. And yet, every time the super homies have to face an unbeatable battle, he's right there in the front line. Part of it is that he's highly invulnerable, yes, but also he sees most of his teammates as friends and people that he wants to keep alive. Sure, without his powers he is a bit of a crybaby, but that is part of the course, because he depends too much on them. So yeah, he's a jerk, he's an idiot, he's very book dumb. They joke that he dropped out of 3rd grade, we are not sure it's a joke. But unlike all the other Superman XPs in other superhero deconstructions, he is not evil. And in fact, trying not to give spoilers here, when a supervillain mind controls him into doing some really terrible things, he actually managed to stop himself from the most evil part of these things. Also, as Major Havoc is not evil, neither is the Super Homie's mystical heroine, Raven XP Sister Spooky, despite having her powers come from a literal deal with the devil gone wrong. She was only supposed to become super attractive. The mystical powers came as a mistake from her infernal service provider, the ESP. And spending volumes 1 to 6 of the series making life as miserable as possible for Emp, from catty comments during battle to being the actual cause of Emp's status as a bondage and humiliation magnet, we little by little learned that she had a reason to do what she did, and that when she realized that side reason was wrong, well, it was when she decided that she needed to change her ways. Once again, doing something that most superhero deconstructions don't do. Let the characters grow and learn from their mistakes. One of the best things about Empowered is, no doubt, the characters, from the titular Emp to one-off villains that can be quite memorable. Like, for example, the Lash, who used to be a part of a group called Rum, Sodomy, and the Lash. Until Rum had to enter co-tortured rehab, and Sodomy quit because he got tired of explaining that he was strictly heterosexual sodomy. My personal favorite is, of course, the subjects of today's art, the goddamn Maid Man, but let's talk first about those who are very, very important to the plot. Obviously, Emp herself. She's a very sweet and beautiful blonde girl who is riddled with self-esteem issues because, for some reason, she has been convinced by the universe that she is fat. Yes, seriously, that is a commentary on society. From a very young age, Emp had been a fan of superheroes and wanted to become one herself, especially after being unable to save her dad from an aneurysm. And while she is very, very happy to have the chance to do so once she gets her supersuit, she's a little less than thrilled by the fact that the supersuit shows everything, even when intact, or that for some unknown reason, every single supervillain that she fights decides to tie her up. This has a reason in comic. She's a literal bondage magnet, and when you find out why, you will get angry. It comes to a point in which she has a preference of what kind of ropes they should use for her so she doesn't get as hurt as usual. And yet, she never, ever gives up. She is, in a word, the Determinator. As long as people need her help, she won't stop helping them, even if her stupid supersuit leaves her naked in the middle of a battle. And yes, that has happened. She will not give up, even if she is crying her eyes out or is terrified to death. And most importantly, she will never, ever stop believing in people and will always be ready to give everyone a second chance. The best example of these second chances is her boyfriend, Tugboy. While she doesn't know all of his shady, very shady past, she met him when he was working for a supervillain that had kidnapped another girl and saw her ruin her own supersuit with a dramatic entrance. She impressed him so much that he just had to tell her how amazing she was. And then they started dating in secret until he was found out, and thus she had to save his life from his bosses. Later, we find out that Tugboy used to work as a minion for supervillains in order to steal their tech and sell it on eBay. And that before that, he was part of an anti-cape group that fought against those superheroes that didn't care at all for civilians. Rings a bell? Just saying. While going into Tugboy Pass would include a lot of spoilers, let's just point out that Emp helped him not only to straighten out his life, as he has now joined her to save the world a couple of times, she also got him of a dangerous depression that would have ended with him checking out early from this world. The other character that deserves a great mention is the amazing Ninjette, Emp's best friend and a ninja princess from New Jersey, as I said before. They became friends when Ninjette was hired to capture her, did so, and then the people who hired her just couldn't be bothered to pick Emp up. And hearing that Emp's boyfriend was a thug, ex-thug, but whatever, she just wanted to hear all about it, and a couple of beers later, because Ninjette has a very big alcohol problem, they were totally best friends. Ninjette is a very interesting commentary on cultural appropriation, because her whole clan started out as a bunch of anime fans who decided they wanted to be ninjas after watching a certain series of an orange-clad one, and found techniques that actually worked, as well as trauma survival and, as I said, alcoholism and how it destroys lives. without making her a walking PSA. That takes talent. To round up Emp's original support group, after Volume 1 she has added a couple of people to it. Emp's personality makes a lot of people love her once they get to know her, but talking about those others would make spoilers. But in the Volume 1 we have the Caged Demon Wolf, a cosmic entity that Emp managed to capture in an alien power draining bondage belt, long story, but that, due to the zoning of the Super Homies headquarters, they couldn't keep him there. So Emp got the job to keep the demon in her apartment. Why her apartment can't handle cosmic entities trapped in belts, but the Super Homies headquarters can't, is one of those questions of this world. At first, Demon Wolf was very angry and offended that Emp kept him in her closet, and wouldn't let him watch when she and Tugboy had fun in bed. But after Emp let him out to listen to sports radio and watch TV with her and Tugboy, he became a good friend and sometimes advisor to her, even if he's still not allowed to watch her have sex. There are a ton, and I mean a ton, of superhero deconstructions out there. From Watchmen to Irredeemable, from Astro City to Kick-Ass, from Youngblood to Brightborn. It seems that everyone wants to have a stab at turning superhero tropes on their head. However, most of those end up being incredibly bleak, filled with characters who we just can't understand why they became heroes in the first place. Exactly. Sometimes, like in Irredeemable, they also touch on the pressures that heroes have from the unending critics from the general public, but many others just treat heroes as irresponsible celebrities. Think of it as if Logan Paul got superpowers and then shivered at the idea. However, Empower tries to be a little bit different by showing us a character that, no matter what, never loses hope. Yes, as the volume advances, the story has become a lot darker. Trust me, when you get to know Neurosphere, you will know fear. But the main strength of Emp, her optimism, never fades. And while you can read the whole thing for free at Adam Warren's site, empoweredcomic.com, link on description, you can also support him by buying Dark Horse volumes that reach volume 11, plus 7 one-shot specials and 2 miniseries. Empowered and the Soldier of Love, which also deconstructs magical girls, and Empowered and Sister Spooky's High School Hell. I want to thank my dear patrons Mitch Hyman, Elaine Ho, Jessica, and Ali Riley, as well as my first supporter Tanya Pineda and Amy Sung, who is the greatest human being on the planet and without whom these videos would not be possible. I also want to remind you that if you want to support this and my other projects and get your name mentioned here, you can do so at patreon.com/Adalisa, written link on description with my linktree, as I know my name is impossible to spell. And with just $1 a month, you will always be thanked in my videos, as well as get access to a ton of art before anyone else. Or you can support me at Ko-fi, also linked on my linktree, and you will get mentioned in my next video. If you can't support me this way, I also accept likes, subscriptions to the channel, comments so that the algorithm catches engagement, and of course, you sharing the links. It will also welcome all your questions, feedbacks, and suggestions in the comments below.